Hello, this is Matt O'Leary, and today I'll be reviewing Hand Cannot Erase. The man, the myth, the legend, Steven Wilson's fourth solo album. This guy may be single-handedly keeping rock and roll alive with his many projects, including Porcupine Tree, which is my favorite, Bass Communion, Blackfield. A recent one is Storm Corrosion, which was a collaboration with Michael Ackerfeld of Opeth. He has remastered, or actually remixed, many albums, including a ton of King Crimson. This guy's also a self-taught producer and audio engineer who is known for just fine quality production and also an attention to detail. He's also a multi-instrumentalist, and along with singing on this album, he also plays guitar and mellotron and other instruments, so this guy really does it all. He may be the most prolific rock artist of our generation, creating up to 40 or 50 albums with all of his projects, and somehow he manages to stay artistically relevant without compromising his roots. I really loved Insurgentes, his first solo album, and also his third, which was The Raven That Refused to Sing. This one was kind of an ode to his most major influences in progressive and classic rock. It sounded the most like that. This new one, Hand Cannot Erase, is more influenced by modern textures and industrial sounds of the city, him incorporating more electronic elements. Now this thing is a full-fledged concept album, which is so typical of Steven Wilson. And it's based around the story of a British girl named Joyce Carol Vincent, the real-life story. This girl died in her apartment and wasn't discovered for at least 2 years. This girl had a lot of friends. She was youthful, she was attractive, she was involved, she had family that she cared about, she was successful by, modern means. There's this paradox of living in a highly populated area, urban area, where the most people are is often where you feel the most lonely. Now unfortunately, the deluxe edition of this album only came on CD, but I pre-ordered the vinyl just because it seemed like a perfect album to have on vinyl. It really is an experience, something I wanted to own my own physical copy of, so I got this thing, and you can see here is the album art. It's pretty awesome artistic picture, and then there's a really beautiful gatefold here, another picture. The same guy who did photography for Porcupine Tree did work on this one, and the deluxe version came with this amazing book of just handwritten letters and journal entries and photography and imagery, school art projects, and even a birth certificate of the character. So really, he's going all out on this story, really trying to sell it in every medium possible. This book is kind of an abridged version of the deluxe edition, but you can still see some, I don't even know if those are like hieroglyphics on the front or something, but a photograph of a girl that's supposedly her, and then if you go through each page, it has journal entries as well as all the lyrics here, these really nice photographs. So artistically, this is just something that demands attention, and it's not just a musical experience. What I'm reviewing here is really a full art project. It's a multimedia work. He continues to support high-quality audio. I think I heard an interview where he said having an MP3 is kind of like having a picture of a painting instead of the real thing. So I advise you to take time to appreciate this art and don't pass it off upon first listen. Now getting to the music, this is not as jazzy as his previous work, especially Grace for Drowning, which was his second solo album, which included, flutes and saxophone solos. And like all of his previous work, it really is this emotional roller coaster. It doesn't subscribe to a certain genre or mood. This is not radio pop, and radio pop in a way represents our constant need to kind of tidy up our lives, kind of like Facebook represent the best part of ourselves, but it's not necessarily the most honest or sincere. Personally, I feel closer to an artist when their music is a true representation of their real experience and not something that's packaged When I had the first song on here, First Regret, on kind of the intro piano track, which is just a gorgeous melody, my wife actually thought that I needed to adjust the speed on my turntable because the piano is almost warped a little bit, sounds a little out of tune at times. And this thing reminds me of in Super Mario 64, okay? The underwater level with that eel. And you're running around and you're freaking out and he might be behind you and you're, button mashing, but there's that really nice piano sound behind you. Now getting into one of my favorite tracks, which is 3 Years Older, and this thing is progressive, it's long, it's got crazy time signatures. I think there's, when it starts with that really Pete Townsend-esque guitar, acoustic guitar part, it's in bars of 7 and then 9. Marco Miniman, man! This thing sounds like Portishead, 9 Inch Nails, but also there's a lot of Rush, one of my favorite classic rock groups. 3 Years Older is more emotionally intense than I think anything that I've heard from Stephen, and it's talking about, getting older, 3 years older, another 3 years older, and slowly isolating yourself from the people you love most. This leads well into Hand Cannot Erase, which is maybe the most cookie-cutter pop song on the album, but it's really an intentional one. And I think the more I listened to it, just the more I connected with it, and it is so darn catchy. And cannot erase this love. I'm glad that he kept the album title very ambiguous, kind of leaving it so you can make a personal interpretation. My favorite lyric from this is, trust means we don't have to be together every day. And this song is touching on the idea that even if love isn't explicitly expressed, every moment, every waking moment, it can still be felt, and there can still be trust and love when, and especially in a romantic relationship, when two are apart. If this were the 90s, we'd be seeing an MTV music video right now for this song. The third song, Perfect Life, there's a long monologue by a woman whose voice is introduced, and she's talking about how she met her sister that she never knew, and really had a great time with her, and they became best friends, but then they slowly drifted apart. This girl in the monologue becomes very specific, talking about the barges through the water. When Stephen Wilson is singing, it's almost like he is her essence or her spirit, her mind talking instead of actually her. Perfect Life sounds like something from Fear of a Blank Planet, one of Porcupine Tree's most famous works, and I really love the ambient drums in there. It's almost like When the Levee Breaks inspired a little bit. Routine is the next song, and this song is really in two parts. The first with Wilson singing a melody about this girl going through the routine of being a mother, doing the dishes and cleaning up for the kids. And then the next part is the woman singing about this. It's musical theater, honestly. It sounds like that, just the way how dramatic and looping the melody is. Oh. This may be the centerpiece of the album. I think it's a really great track, and I love how in between the first two parts there's kind of this fading away of the music, and then it comes in strong as the girl sings again, which is kind of representing how the routine, even though it fades at times, it's going to come back. There are the most cringeworthy lyrics on this song, however, for me. Cooking their food on the stainless steel hob. And there are a few just uncanny Pink Floyd Dark Side of the Moon moments on here with the scream at the end by the girl is just like Great Gig in the Sky. Now, Home Invasion starts with a metal just chugging, which I really like in the context of the album. It's less sterile than much of his music emotionally. This song is going to be fantastic live. I think it's going to be a staple in their set. And I think, he's talking about his kind of disgust with download culture. And Regret Number 9 is really Stephen Wilson showing off his tricks. The keyboardist from, the Miles Davis group, Adam Holzman, has a really sweet solo, followed by Guthrie Govan's guitar soloing. And it's just amazing work, really. Then we get to Ancestral, which just has a really sinister melody. I love the electronic beat behind the string crescendo. However, this song kind of loses my interest, especially towards the end, because it's a very long song, about 13 minutes, when it goes into this metal instrumental. And I think it's kind of shoving the virtuosity in my face a little bit when I've already heard much of that on the album, and I'm a little tired of it. What's wrong, Bear? We come to the last track on this album, which I didn't love, mainly because I was looking for Wilson's lyrics to become a little more vulnerable, and I wanted this last track to be kind of grandiose. There is an almost deadpan delivery on much of the lyrics on this album, and that is my main complaint. He almost seems too composed, and his lyrics almost seem a little too intelligent at times, and technical, and they become a little devoid of feeling. I think this is very close to a masterpiece, my favorite maybe of Wilson's solo work, but I think it's missing the vulnerability on the back half, especially in the lyrics. It kind of falls into these labels of Wilson in the past, which have been kind of impersonal and cold and disconnected. And I think his artistic intention and angle, his emotional angle, was kind of missed or restricted a bit by this. This takes nothing away from just the poignant social commentary in the lyrics on this album. This is possibly Wilson's most human story, really showcasing his belief in a higher human purpose without becoming too unrealistic or idealistic. I think the message of anonymity and loneliness are so relevant to our generation. In my life, they speak to me on a deep emotional level about my own loneliness and isolation from the world around me, and reluctance to join and be a part of a community when it's easy for me to be lazy and just sit at home and do everything I need to do just on my computer. Technology creates this passivity. Now, getting to the main strengths of this album, and there are many of them. Number one, the production is just breathtaking. You know that Wilson is getting exactly what he imagined in his mind, because he has all the tricks, all the instrumentalists, everything to complete and produce the sound that he wants. And I think that is the sign of a great musician. In trying to write my own original music, I've realized that that's one of the hardest things, to make what's in your head actually become reality. The flow on this album is just amazing. Every element is just interpolated perfectly within the mix, seamlessly. So I really love this thing, as you can probably tell, but it was just one or two steps away, I think, from just being an absolute classic, and that's why I have to give this thing an 8 out of 10. Please let me know what I can do better on these music reviews in the future. Also, if there are any albums you want me to review next, let me know what your favorite Porcupine Tree album is, and if there are any other projects of his that you think I should check out. Thank you.